All right, SEC week wrapping up soon here on YouTube, and that'll be it for the conference weeks, right? We did the ACC, the Big Ten, the Big 12, the Pac-12. Now the SEC, done 3 or 4 SEC videos already, and got another one for you today. This is all leading up, of course, to the 24-hour live stream that we're doing on Saturday. I hope you guys will join us for that. Tune in and out, as I'm going to try to start it early Saturday morning and try to go all the way through Sunday morning. We'll see if I can make it. I'm an old man, haven't stayed up 24 hours straight in a long time. We're going to do the best we can. Y'all join us and help us out. But we got another SEC video today, so let's get right to it. Hey, good morning, it's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right, it's me, Uncle Lou, and I'm live for you on YouTube today, which you already know. Thank you in addition to that as well. Thanks for accepting me, too. Give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. I would really appreciate it. It doesn't cost you anything, doesn't take any time at all, but it's a huge help to me. I'm trying to get to 20,000 subscribers before the season starts. I can't do it without you guys' help. So give this video a thumbs up, it's a huge help. And share it somewhere, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you want to do. It really does mean a lot. All right, here we go. The games of the year in the SEC for 2019. I've done this for the rest of the conference. I'm going to do it for the SEC too. What we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got 8 games here that I think will go a long way in deciding not only who wins the divisions within the SEC, but which teams may end up making some New Year's Six bowls if they just barely missed the playoffs. That kind of thing. These are going to be great games. Got a lot of rivalries here. Got some revenge type games from last year. Anyway, we'll jump right in. Number 1 to me, one of the most interesting games of the year, Florida on the road at Kentucky early in the season. Florida took an L at home last year to Kentucky, a very embarrassing loss for Dan Mullen. Even if you're a Florida fan, you have to admit that. No one saw that coming. Now, Kentucky ended up having a pretty good year. The problem is, so did Florida, right? Both won 10 games, or Kentucky might have won 9. I think they won 10. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Kentucky finished second in the East. Florida finished third, and that game was the reason why. It was the first loss for Florida to Kentucky in 31 years, and it couldn't happen at a worse time with it being Dan Mullen's first year. So, revenge on the mind, which is weird to say in a game against Kentucky, and they got to go to Kentucky to play it. It'll be an interesting game. Again, I think Florida's better. They should win the game. They got better players, athletes, coaches. They have every advantage. They should win. But Kentucky, in addition to beating Florida last year, has almost beat them a couple of times over the last couple of years. So it'll be an interesting game. I've got that on the list. All right, and then Tennessee at Florida. Tennessee looking for a turnaround for the 10th year in a row. Haven't had much luck against Florida. I think they beat Florida once in the last 13 or 14 years, something like that. You got to play them on the road this year in the swamp. We'll see what sort of shape Florida is in this year. A lot of offseason turmoil going on down there. Their 2019 class sort of crumbling a little. They definitely don't have the number 9 class now for 2019. After signing day, 24/7 Sports had Florida ranked as the 9th best recruiting class for 2019. It's definitely not the case now. They lost the only quarterback they signed in the 2019 class. They lost their highest rated recruit from the 2019 class in Chris Steele. Rumors that several other players aren't going to qualify academically. There's, I think, 3 or 4 that haven't showed up on campus yet. They missed the deadline for summer semester 1, trying to see what they can do to get in for summer semester 2. You had another guy transfer out, not from the 2019 class, but a junior DB, Brian Edwards, gone yesterday. It's just been a string of transfers, people quitting, freshmen not enrolling for whatever reason. We'll see. Now, nothing will silence the critics or make people forget about all that, like winning some football games. Florida will be a favorite in this game. Tennessee, in order to get back to where they want to be, at some point, has got to start winning some of these games against your Floridas, your Georgias, your South Carolinas, your Vandys. Will it be this one? I don't know. Saw a crazy finish in this game a couple of years ago. What was that, 2017, wasn't it? The Hail Mary year. Crazy finish. Will we see something like that again? I don't know. A lot of returning talent on offense on Tennessee. We'll see. Definitely one of the. I mean, this is one of the most interesting games in the SEC every single year, right? Tennessee at Florida, September 21st. All right, Alabama on the road at Texas A&M, October 12th. Alabama's going to be favored in all their games. What else is new? A lot of people are going to pick Alabama to go 12-0 in the regular season. That's not a terrible idea. If you're going to pick Alabama to go 11-1, though, chances are this is the game you think they may lose. On the road at Texas A&M. Texas A&M, Kellen Mond back, the most experienced quarterback in the SEC. They've got a bunch of 6'4", 6'5" receivers. Defense, especially front seven, to me, a question mark for Texas A&M. We'll see how they're looking at this point in the season, which October 12th, so you're a couple of weeks in there, right? 6 weeks into the season there. We'll see. Tough place to play. Texas A&M gave Alabama one of their better games of the year last year. Alabama had a lot of blowouts. Texas A&M never really had a chance to win that game, but it was closer than almost every other team Alabama played. This will be a huge game. Everyone will be watching. We'll see how it goes. Again, Alabama will be a favorite. They always are. But if you're one of these people who thinks Alabama's going to drop a game or two in the regular season this year, this is one of the ones you probably have circled. Alabama at Texas A&M, October 12th. All right, in the cocktail party, Georgia versus Florida. This is always going to be on a list of best or most interesting games in the SEC for any given year. This year is played on November 2nd, always on the Saturday around Halloween, right? Georgia versus Florida. Georgia's had their number the last couple of years, beating them 42-7 a couple of years ago, 36-17 last year. Already talked a lot about Florida and the troubles they've had in the offseason. Georgia's had some troubles of their own, right? Series of arrests back in March. 4 players, I think it was, arrested in a 30-day period. Luckily, none of it was too serious, some marijuana possession type of charges. Nothing that will affect anything this late into the season. You may have a player or two sit out the first game from that. We'll see, but they'll all be back by here. Jeremiah Holloman will not be back by this game. He's gone permanently. Got to have some wide receivers step up for Georgia this year. We'll see. Georgia will be favored, I think, in this game again. Doesn't mean they'll win, obviously, but they will be favored. Huge game. This could go a long way in deciding who wins the SEC East. I know I'm stating the obvious there, but these are two pretty good teams. Georgia going to be ranked in the top 5. Florida going to be around top 10 somewhere when these preseason polls come out. So a lot of people expecting good years from both of these teams. Definitely one of the biggest games of the SEC East in 2019. LSU at Bama is becoming less and less of a must-watch game in the SEC. It's been a long time since LSU has beat them. Last year's game wasn't even close, 29-0. LSU defense, I think LSU played a great game defensively against Alabama last year. Giving up the 29 points to last year's Alabama team is pretty good. Problem was offensively, you just couldn't do anything. 0 points, couldn't get any first downs, couldn't move the ball. Burrow looked lost, scared, and confused. Overall, I thought Burrow had a good year last year. Not in this game, though. LSU has got to come up with something offensively against Alabama. You know, you used to watch these games 7, 8, 9 years ago. Everybody remembers the 6-3 game, but you used to could try to game plan and find a way to beat Alabama 17-10, 24-13, something like that. Not anymore. Alabama's going to score in the 30s probably every single game, which is why it's so impressive that LSU kept them to 29. But you got to be able to score. I mean, you could have kept them to 3 points and you would have lost that game with no offense, right? So you got to do better. LSU's got a lot of pieces coming back. People high on Burrow. But they got to go on the road. Tough spot for LSU there. Obviously, Bama, again, will be favored. But this is one of those games for people who, Saban's lost it. Tua's not the real deal. It was all smoke and mirror, whatever. You know who those people are. This is another game they look at and say, maybe this is where they catch an L. Georgia at Auburn, November 16th. I don't think Auburn will be a very good team this year. We've owned Auburn of late. Auburn's beat us something like 4 times in the last 19 games that we've played them or something. However, this is an SEC West team that Georgia has to play on the road under Kirby Smart, and we're winless in that scenario. 2016, Kirby Smart goes on the road to an average Ole Miss team and gets blown out. 2017, we go on the road to a pretty good Auburn team and get blown out. 2018, we go on the road to a pretty good LSU game and lose. 0-for-3 in road games. Georgia was favored in all 3 of those games. And lost all 3 of those games. Unacceptable. Got to turn that around at some point. I've mentioned this a couple of times during the offseason. This game makes me nervous because of all that. I do think Georgia's better. I think the barn's in for a rough year. I'm not going to lie. I'm hoping Auburn catches a series of losses, 2 or 3 at least, before this game is played, because if that happens, I have a feeling the fans are going to completely turn on Gus Malzahn. I mean, they're just waiting to do it. Half the administration has already given up on him. Half the fans have already given up on him. I'm hoping Auburn catches a couple of losses early in the year. so that, the fire gust thing is full speed ahead by the time this Auburn game rolls around, because I do not want to walk into Jordan-Hare Stadium when we play Auburn with a fired up home crowd who still has a chance to win the SEC West and things like that. That's what happened to us in 17, and we just got ran out of the building. Georgia at Auburn, November 16th. Texas A&M at UJ, November 23rd. First time these two teams have played since Texas A&M joined the SEC back in 2011, 2012, whenever the expansion was. I think Texas A&M be a good team this year. Like I mentioned, I think they could be the best 7-5 team in history. That's not a knock on Texas A&M. They got to play at Clemson, at UGA. I think they play at LSU too, don't they? Yeah. So at Clemson, at UGA, at LSU. That's 3 top 10 teams you got to play on the road. Oh, by the way, you get Alabama at home. Just a brutal schedule. Texas A&M at UGA, November 23rd. I'm excited for this game because we haven't played them before. It's a home game late in the year, probably be a night game. These are great atmospheres here. When you get late in the season like this and you have some of these big games at night, the atmosphere is unbelievable. Texas A&M at UGA, November 23rd. The Iron Bowl, November 30th, Alabama and Auburn. Again, the cocktail party, Tennessee and Florida. You just have to include these games in every single list of games, most important games in the SEC. The Iron Bowl. We've seen a lot of weird things in this game. Yeah, Bama's the better team. Just like Georgia, though, Bama strolled into Auburn in 2017 and toted an L. Will that happen this year? I don't think so. I think Auburn loses both the games to Georgia and Bama this year. But it's the Iron Bowl. You're going to watch it. You know you are. Bama at Auburn, November 30th. All right, and finally, I've got Texas A&M at LSU on November 30th. And this is on the list because I think both of those teams are really good teams. I think both those teams could win a lot of divisions within college football, but probably not the SEC West. But I think that will be a great game. And, of course, we all remember what happened last year with the 6 or 7 overtime game. LSU fans still mad about some officiating errors in that game, but one of the all-time greats last year. Overtime was just unbelievable to watch. Texas A&M ends up winning it, like I mentioned, in the 6th or 7th overtime. This year the game's at LSU. That favors LSU, obviously. Texas A&M's got to play at Georgia and at LSU in back-to-back weeks. That's borderline impossible to do. Good luck, Aggies. You're going to need it in both of those games. But anyway, those are some of the most interesting games to me in the SEC for 2019. Let me know down below if there's any games I left off this list that you're excited to see. Appreciate you guys watching, and have a great morning.